Hello everyone, my name is Nandini Gosine-Mayrhoo. I am a freelance writer and editor living in Palm Beach, Florida. My SEEDtalk is on plant blindness, what it is and how it manifests in our lives, but more importantly, what I propose as a possible solution to this very common affliction. Understanding plant blindness is as simple as recognizing that when we look out onto a landscape, the trees and plant life are very often the last things to capture our attention. On a deeper level, we do not actively acknowledge that trees are the source of the oxygen that keeps us alive. We do not acknowledge the grass that we walk on. And we may idly pluck a leaf or break a branch off a shrub without thinking of how that affects the plant. We do not consciously connect the food on our plates with the plants that produced that food for our benefit, nor do we honor trees as providing habitat for birds and small animals. And very pertinent to the time in which we live, we do not associate trees with our climate. When we read a book, we may not think of the trees that made those pages possible. We do not think of the trees that supplied the furniture in our homes, nor do we associate the supplements and medicine we take with the plant world that provides the ingredients for many of those pills. So if I were to give a definition of plant blindness, I would say that it is a very deep lack of awareness of the role that the plant world plays in our lives. In the Overstory, a novel that I highly recommend, author Richard Powers reminds us of how we see everything the trees provide us, yet we do not see the trees themselves. As he says, trees are largely invisible to us. So how do we cure our plant blindness? Perhaps we can begin by saying thank you to the plant world on a daily basis, or perhaps several times during the day when we utilize anything that was made possible by a plant. I became starkly aware of my own plant blindness when I heard a strange music that touched me deeply. I spiraled down a rabbit hole which led me to a remarkable device called the music of the plants. I discovered that in seeking to connect with the plant world, some bright minds in Damanhur, an eco-spiritual community in northern Italy, created a device that converts the electromagnetic variations of the surface of plant leaves and their root systems into music. I immediately knew that this music had to be a part of my life, and I began sharing the music with various circles in my life. People were fascinated by it, but beyond that fascination, there was a very obvious lack of any understanding or even desire to understand why this music is important or how it could be used in our everyday lives. I realized that I was speaking to the wrong people. I was speaking to the big people when I should have been speaking to the little ones. Young children have not yet been conditioned out of their natural affinity to nature and the wonder and awe in the natural world. So I created Nandi, a platform for educating children about the music in nature, encouraging them to carry the awe and wonder in nature into adulthood, becoming much needed advocates and proponents for change in how we view and treat our natural world. Nandi is obviously a shortened version of my name, but there's a greater meaning to why I chose Nandi. As I explain on the Nandi website, Nandi in Sanskrit musical terms translates to a kind of song or musical instrument. Small wonder that I was so affected by the music of the plants. So I created a character named Nandi, who is introduced to the music in nature by a fairy in her garden. Through the Nandi Platform, I hope to encourage children to create new stories around our collective future. I aim to educate children on biophilia, our innate affinity with nature, and why knowledge of biophilia is important in how we work towards preserving the natural world. The fairy Nandi meets is called Iris, and Iris tells her that she helps the plants and trees to create their music. This leads Nandi to investigate whether others can hear plant music, which then leads her to discover the music of the plant's device. Nandi also learns about the Amazon, and she and her friends come up with a plan to help preserve the rainforest. Nandi and the Music of the Plants is aimed primarily at the homeschooling market. It includes a workbook with questions for the children to explore, but also ideas for parents and teachers to contemplate. A portion of all sales is being donated to Survival International, an organization that works to preserve the lands of Indigenous peoples worldwide. It is my intention to introduce knowledge of Indigenous cultures and Indigenous wisdom to children in my follow-up book, and I am speaking with Survival International regarding an appropriate approach. Another organization that I would like to highlight is the Biomimicry Institute, who, as you can see from their tagline, believes that our gravest problems can be solved by using inspiration from nature. The Biomimicry Institute welcomes ideas on nature-based solutions from children and adults. A middle school in New York won the Youth Challenge in 2020 with their sketches of a design for a home that could withstand the ever-increasing strength of hurricanes. The children sought inspiration for the dome shape of the home from the ovenbird's nest, recognizing that this shape would best withstand strong winds. They drew on the deep and far-reaching lateral root system of the longleaf pine for ideas on how the foundation of the dome home should be modeled. They mimicked the natural curve at the base of a tree for how the home should be positioned on the ground, and they studied the woodpecker's skull for an understanding on impact resistance. I intend to introduce the Biomimicry Institute to children in a future book, encouraging children to extract valuable lessons and solutions from the natural world. One of my favorite nature-based solutions highlighted by the Biomimicry Institute is that of cypress coatings, who have developed a paint without the need for toxic colorants. Their inspiration was drawn from butterfly wings, peacock feathers, and opal gemstones, which have always showed us that beauty should be non-toxic. I trust that I have helped you to understand what plant blindness is and how it manifests in our lives. I hope that I have inspired you to want to learn more about what the plant world can teach us. I hope that you agree it is important for us to educate children on why preserving the natural world is so crucial. Please visit nandimotp.org to support a reimagining of children's education around nature. Thank you.